Mohammed.
Hi.
And tonight we are going to be talking about the impact of Agile on growth. Now, before we turn it over, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. Should I turn it off? Oh, that's fine. That's all right. Our monthly sponsors are Amplify and Perk, so thank you so much for supporting. And then tonight's venue and food and beverage sponsor is obviously Springbuk.
Woo! Yeah! Go Springbuk!
Awesome. Should we I've got a couple of questions about bathrooms. Should we do a quick thing about that over here?
Yeah, so there are two bathrooms right over here. There's a big wall that you're going to see right there with some pretty deer painted on it. They're right behind that wall.
Perfect.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you for sponsoring, and thank you for having bathrooms. So before we hand things over, just a couple of quick shout outs. We have an amazing communications board now. They've done a lot of work to get some social media channels up and running these last few months. So if you wouldn't mind following us on social media, we have Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and now a YouTube channel. Jason, the guy over there by the camera, he loves video and he's really talented at it. So we'll be doing a lot more video content in the upcoming months. So you should check that out. And we'll also be posting recordings there after the event. So another just super final update, and then I'll turn it over to Mohammed. We also have a Slack channel, and I would say this is probably our most common form of communication. The board uses it literally almost every day to communicate on Agile stuff. We have job postings there, just general articles, etc. If you're interested in joining that, you can follow us on the LinkedIn, and we'll show the link there, or you can email me at ejackson@pfl.com, and I will hook you up with that. So it's really great. It's a really casual way to just connect with people in the community. So hope you join it. And with that, I will turn it over to Mohammed.
All right, so for those of you that have been coming for a while, you know that even I usually kind of one does the front end, one does the back end of slides, and I texted earlier, I was like, hey, can I do slide 5? Because Tim is someone I'm really excited about having speaking today. I have known him since he first got out of school. He worked with me for a couple of years and then left and spread his wings and did some amazing stuff at multiple companies, most recently here at Springbuk. So he's one of those rare marketers in town that has a good combination of right brain, left brain. Right? So it's really, really, really cool. What's your major in again?
Economics.
Economics? Oh, it's in the comedy troupe. Right? So you got a little bit of both sides, the creativity aspects, along with a guy that really feels comfortable just crushing a Google spreadsheet, or preferably Excel probably, because it works a whole bunch better. Right? So when he came over here, I've been following him for the past couple of years, continue to kind of keep in contact. The stuff they've been doing is amazing. I'm really, really excited to have him up here to share with all of you. As we kind of talked about last meeting, one of the big things that we know people come to this event for, it's two things. We know this from the surveys, but thank you for filling them out last time. One, the number one thing is you come here because you want to get some tactical tips. All right? You want to walk out of here with stuff you know you can actually use. This is not generally a meeting that you come to just get a bunch of really just giant inspirations and walk out feeling yeah. This is when you come to, you're hopefully inspired, but you also walk out with some actual usable tips that you can go and take back to your workday to continue to improve on your personal growth. And then the second thing is the networking aspect as well, right? So people love doing that. You've got a little bit of both of those in here, and actually a little bit of both of that actually in Tim as well with the tactical piece. And if any of you have talked with him so far, and if not, go ahead and do that afterwards. That's a great guy over there. All right, so I'm going to hand it off to Tim. Come on up here.
Yeah, please have a seat. So thank you all so much for coming out today. By a round of applause, who has not been to this building before? Who has not been here? Come find me after. I would love to give you a guided tour. This is a super cool building. It's filled with a ton of high-growth tech companies, and I love showing people around. So please come see me afterwards. In the interim, I'm here today to talk to you guys about the experience I've had over the last 18 months here at Springbuk, as we've gone through some really breakneck growth. It's been a ton of fun. We've raised a ton of money, and the thing I really want to talk about, Mohammed was my first boss. So Agile marketing has kind of been in my blood since day number one. It's been something that has followed me throughout my entire career. But a struggle that I ran into here at Springbuk specifically is explaining the idea of agile marketing to investors, and more specifically explaining it to investors who have very high expectations as to what we're going to accomplish. Because typically, talking to somebody who wants to sign you a big check and saying, yeah, so we're going to pivot and figure it out, doesn't go over super duper well. So I want to share with you guys today the real story of what that experience has been like, as well as what the future looks like here at Springbuk and what we're trying to accomplish over the next year as well. So a little bit about Springbuk. We're a health analytics platform for self-funded employers. So just a little bit of background on the space we work in. We primarily work with employers that have at least 500 employees within their employee population. And those are companies that like to take on more financial risk with the benefits plans that they pick up, which means they need better measurement tools to help identify where that benefit spend is going. That's why a tool like Springbuk is really, really effective. So that allows employers to optimize their plan design and target their engagement and wellness efforts into what they know works best. So our go-to-market strategy historically has been based around insurance brokers. We, early on in the founding of our company in 2015, started going directly to these HR practitioners who were typically the people driving the ship on what tech tools they would use to measure their benefits. And we would sit down with them and we'd say, hello, we'd like to talk with you about your benefit spend. And they'd say, I need my broker. And after having that conversation approximately 100 times, we realized it would be a heck of a lot easier to go to the broker first and meet the HR people later. So that all leads up to our ultimate mission, which is we're here to prevent disease with data. It's a big, bold ambition, and it requires big, bold budgets, which in my case requires big, bold ideas as to how we're going to spend that money to actually grow the size of this business. So in the beginning, I was brought on in April of 2017, and I was our first marketing hire. I was employee number 36, but I was marketing hire number 1. And I was inheriting a marketing strategy that up until then was kind of chewing gum and paper clips. And our founder, Phil Daniels, had a background in marketing. He was our chief growth officer at the time. So he was doing a lot of great work for what he could do in 10 hours a week, but we didn't have anyone who was dedicated to helping us grow and scale a marketing strategy. And my entire attitude was, we have no budget, and that means we're going to write content, because what else are you going to do when you got no budget? So we wrote a lot of content, and we spent a lot of time focusing on how we can grow our organic search presence, and that led to some incremental growth, which led to a low budget. And I said, we're making some progress. That's great news. So I said, let's do what's working. Let's write some more content. I'm excited to dive into some of the expansion strategy that we had with our go-to-market strategy with content. And the entire focus that we had in my first year here was focusing on multi-use Swiss Army knife campaigns. So I didn't have enough time, energy, or money to do anything once. I had to do things that I could use 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. And I had to do things that could touch every aspect of the organization, because the number of hours I had in the day were fixed. The amount of money I had was very fixed. And if I wanted to go out and raise the amount of money that we wanted to raise in our Series B, I needed to prove that we could accomplish a lot with what I had been given to start with. And then along came $20 million. And to go from nothing to 20 million is to go from being a little bit thirsty for a glass of water to drowning in the ocean. It was amazing. It was the best problem in the world, but it was a problem because I had an expectation as to what $20 million would feel like. I thought I was going to win both showcases in the Showcase Showdown. It was going to be amazing. And it felt like that for exactly a day. For exactly one day, it felt like I was the top boy. And then the reality was much different, because what no one tells you when you raise that amount of money is no one's showing up with a publisher's clearinghouse check. What I'm getting isn't a check. I'm getting 2 new bosses. And if you hire good bosses, it all works out okay. And fortunately, we did. Our partners have been amazing. The investors that we chose, we could not have gotten better Series B investors when it comes to what we're looking to do in the next 5 years. But this is a stark reality. To go from expecting a giant check to to all of a sudden having 2 new bosses that you're accountable towards, and 2 new bosses who, by the way, expect you to be $1 billion business. This is a Bill Belichick style offense where no one's patting you on the back for scoring a touchdown, because of course you're going to score a touchdown. We gave you $20 million to score the touchdown. You score the touchdown. And there were 2 big questions that I had as I started to experience this. The first thing was, how do I plan for the next 18 months when I've only been here for 8 months? That was kind of the big expectation, I believe, from our board, from our executive leadership team. We need to have big picture visions about where we're going. We need to have 12, 18-month roadmaps. We need to understand what the future looks like of this organization so that we can report that. And I'm sitting there saying, yeah, so that's great. I can't tell you what 18 months ago was like. I don't know how you want me to tell you what it is 18 months in the future. And more importantly, because I'm a believer in agile marketing, how do I explain a strategy to people who are much smarter than me when I know that strategy is going to pivot and change as I learn more information? My fear was I was going to show up and I was going to say, hello, my marketing strategy is we'll figure it out. And they were going to look at me and say, well, we'll find somebody who already figured it out then. We don't need you. And luckily, our leadership team here has been incredible. Our board had been amazing to work with, and I think quelled a lot of those fears. Because the truth of the matter is, when you raise a large amount of money, what you learn very quickly is it's not always about having the right answer. It's about having an answer. And it's about having an answer you've thought through. Because at the end of the day, your board of directors and your investors are much smarter than you. And a consequence of that is they understand and expect you to be changing your strategy. If I walked in and said, hello, I know exactly where we're going and how I'm going to spend every dollar of mine for the next 18 months, that would be the far more concerning outcome for our investors and our board of directors, because what they really want, especially in a startup at our stage, is a management and a leadership team that understands the market is going to pivot, and you need to be nimble and agile enough to pivot with it. So the first thing I did was I hired for what was working. So this was something that caused a little bit of consternation early on, because we thought, we'll be really capital efficient, just like we were before. We'll go out, we'll hire a bunch of kids straight out of college, and we'll just teach them. It's fine. We have all the time in the world now because we have $20 million. And as we thought about it a little more critically, we realized that's not the best use of this capital. And the real best use of this capital is hiring specialists who understand where they can take these channels that are already being effective. At the end of the day, my biggest constraint before we raised this money was my time. I never had the time or energy to fully investigate what content could look like, what events could look like, what the Healthiest Employer Program could look like. So for me to lead a 22-year-old and say, here's what you should do for content, when I haven't had the time to invest to figure out what that would actually look like fully fleshed out, would be a little bit of an amateur move. So we hired some amazing people. Alexa Gates is in the background, very, very back of the room. We brought her on initially for events, and now she manages all of our campaign marketing efforts. And she's been amazing. Jackson, I already introduced, who runs all of our Healthiest Employer Program. And then Eric is currently, he runs all of our content marketing. He's currently in Las Vegas, placing a bet on the Pacers to go over 46.5 wins this season on my behalf. So thank you, Eric. I am sure I'm going to win that bet, and I'll take you out for dinner later. But one of the things that I found striking as we went out and started to hire is how much more experience we brought in than we anticipated. We initially thought, we'll just go out, we'll be really, really capital efficient. We don't need to bring in anyone who's super experienced or has expertise in a particular channel. And I'm glad that we were wrong 3 times about that. Because I think if I brought in a less experienced team, I don't think we'd be able to be growing. So, and that led to a problem for me, because I looked around and we had hired for what was working. So my days, which used to be filled with event marketing and Healthiest Employer and writing content, were now pretty empty. And I said, what am I supposed to do? I looked around and y'all are doing my jobs. So I built a new management framework on top of our Agile framework that so far we're really, really proud And we pivoted to a more outcomes-based version of Agile marketing. So instead of mapping out channels and saying, all right, you own events, you own content, we instead have focused on mapping desired outcomes. So we have 4 cardinal directions, and those are all outcomes based. So each one of those cardinal directions has an outcome that we're going for, and each cardinal direction must have an or. They must have things that they own, they must have things they assist on, and they must have things they're responsible, or they report up to. And then we would route projects based on the outcomes that we're looking for. So we focused on more collaborative planning and meetings, less on just straight assigning a project and saying, let me know where it's at next week, more on collaborative assignment of projects, and trying to discuss projects as they come up to make sure all the key stakeholders were involved. And finally, this seems obvious, and we were doing an okay job of it, but we wanted to focus more on measuring the teams based on outcomes. So instead of, and not channels-based outcomes, but true business-wide outcomes that they're responsible for delivering on. And everyone should have one true.
Sorry, an example of an outcome?
So I'm gonna get to that. I have a slide. So everyone has one metric that they are the most responsible for. And at the end of the day, you gotta nail this metric, and everything else, instead of everyone having 10 metrics and then who knows what's really important, you have one metric, you report that metric to me, I have to be able to report that metric up. So that at the end of the day, you see on our scoreboard every single day where you're at. So these are our cardinal directions. These are our north, south, east, west. So new business is one of the outcomes we're focused on driving. So how do we generate net new business? Generating net new business is one of our desired outcomes. Expanding channel partner relationships is our south. It's diametrically opposed to our new business. But that's our south-focused cardinal direction. So how do we drive our current channel partners? How do we drive expansion within their book of business? We also have brand awareness, which is extremely important to us, and then product marketing, which is the least outcomes-based portion of this today, primarily because we didn't really know what the outcome of this was going to look like, which is why we brought in somebody who was extremely talented and capable to help us determine that. But these are our outcomes that we're trying to drive. And in between these live channels. So for example, between product marketing and new business, sales support is going to be a key factor. So instead of new business owning sales support, which is traditionally how we've handled it, product marketing and new business really should be collaborating on that, because there's a ton of product needs that exist there too. Same goes for creative campaigns between new business and brand awareness. Channel partner and expansion and brand awareness touch a lot because of one-off projects like our customer advisory board, like channel partner expansion meetings that we'll do. We'll do events with our channel partners to help them expand their book of business. And then product marketing and channel partner touch because of client communications. And then underneath this, we were able to build very specific verticals like account-based marketing, like content marketing, like design. It all of a sudden became very easy to map where everyone belonged because we had our cardinal directions and we knew what everyone was going to be focused on. So, for example, Alexa is most focused on new business because when you look at the tasks that she's responsible for and that she's best at, those are all things that happen to drive new business for us. Jackson kind of sits in the middle. So Healthiest Employer, you'll see right here, is kind of in the middle between new business and channel partner expansion. Because while it does help us drive new business, it also has been huge for us to expand our channel partnerships, and we believe that will continue to be true in 2019. So this for us has been huge layering on top of Agile because it's provided us with the resources we need to continue to be nimble and agile when it comes to the tasks we're focused on, but to be constantly focused instead of I'm going to give you a card in Trello because you need a card in Trello and someone needs to do it, giving all of us the tools we need to ask the hard question, which is this really my true north? Is this helping me get to driving new business? Is this helping me get to expanding our brand awareness? Is this really helping me expand our channel partnerships? So now I am able to answer that question pretty easily. What am I supposed to do? I have roles in all of this. And everyone on my team now is able to pretty clearly map out, based on these cardinal directions, this is the range where I live. And when I see a new project come up, I can pretty easily map it on these cardinal directions and say, this is over here, this is my purview, and so if we want to expand my purview, we can, but we're expanding my purview. Does that make sense? I was like, oh yeah, you're right, maybe this should go to someone else. So the results we've seen from this is we've been provided more clear direction in swim lanes, which has been allowed each of us to do deep dives into assigned outcomes, and that means that marketing is now really embedded in other departments. So we go back to this, every single one of these really touches another department in a really real tangible way. So my new business team is in almost every sales meeting in one way, shape, or form. Our channel partner expansion team is extremely embedded in our client success team. Our brand awareness team works with our HR team here to focus on making sure that our brand is being truly represented both internally and externally all the time. Our product marketing team, Jonathan might as well be on our product team. He spends more time with our product managers than he spends with me. And that has been hugely impactful because now all of a sudden marketing has gotten out of a silo where we're all moving cards around on our own little Trello board, and we're focused more on how can we, in our specific, with our specific cardinal direction that we're focused on, impact the people that we're trying to impact. And it's also increased transparency for the rest of the organization because now when people understand what my responsibilities are, I don't get as many out of scope requests, which aren't people being mean. It's just people not understanding what I do, and that's fine because I don't understand what a lot of other people do. But it also has helped us get to more cross-department collaboration. And we're still crushing goals, which at the end of the day, as long as we're doing that, the rest of this will hopefully work itself out. But I'm glad to say that we're still doing a great job there. So what comes next for us? Oh, yes, a Hamilton reference. I'm sorry, guys. So this all folds into a management structure that we're building out throughout the entire organization, which we are using EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. For that, this really aligns well with our cardinal-based system because everyone has a rock. So everyone has one item that must happen every single quarter. Contributors get one item, directors get 3. And so everyone knows at all time on my team, this is what you do. This is what you need to get across the goal line this quarter, period. That's your job. If you do nothing else, you do this. We all know how that aligns with our true cardinal direction. We have 60-minute prioritization meetings where we hit wins, we hit rocks, and then we hit Trello time. And that has led to clear, standardized reporting. So every single week, I make my team give me paper reports, which I like because I'm old, apparently now. But I clearly document my expectations at the beginning of every 6 months. I say, guys, these are your goals. Every week, you're going to clearly communicate with me on a piece of paper how you're doing on those goals, and you're also going to list out all the key accomplishments and the outcomes that are associated with those that are outside the scope of those goals. And we're going to handle that in our one-on-one. And when we handle that, after we're done with that, I'm going to take that, I'm going to put it in a folder with your name on it. And then in 6 months, when it's time for me to figure out if you get a raise, I have a stack of papers that I get to go through, and I get to say, yeah, you know what, you're killing this, you crushed this goal, and when I go and I have to justify why does this person get more money, it's really easy for me to say, listen, I have a stack of papers that says they should get more money. What do you have? And then they get more money. It's really easy. So the key lessons I've had throughout all of this is with investors, your real job is to make confident, informed decisions, defend them with data, and be smart enough to change your mind. Because at the end of the day, none of us are as smart as the people giving us money. And if you are, then pretend you're not, because they'll like it. When it comes to growth, orient your team around the outcomes you want, not the inputs that you want them to manage. And hire more experience than you think you want, because you're not going to regret it. And when it comes to budgets and results, prize capital efficiency, and if you don't spend it, you don't lose it. I hate the attitude. Every time I talk to a marketer who says, well, it's the end of the quarter, time for me to go on a spending spree because, you know, it's gone if we... No, because that's not the way your investors view that money. That's not the way your finance person views that money. And if that's the way you view that money, my guess is you won't be handling that money for very long. At the end of the day, do your fiduciary duty, period. Be a good steward of capital. And the investors aren't that scary. They're really smart, they're really good at what they do, and they're gonna make you better, and anytime they challenge you, that's their goal. So, who has some questions?
All right, do we have any questions in the room?
Go ahead.
I got 2 of them.
You first. You go ahead. I was asking for the outcomes. I would love to hear some examples of some of the outcomes for each of those cardinal directions.
Yeah, so for us, so for new business, it's the easiest, right? Because we say, all right, great, our outcome is we're gonna drive this much new business. We're gonna set a dollar amount, we're gonna get there. We're gonna set a pipeline amount, we're gonna get there.
Business, or is that
Yeah.
like
So for us, we focus on pipeline predominantly because our sales cycles are long. I would love to hit a point where revenue, like close one new business revenue, was our true source of truth. Pipeline for us is a little bit more immediate, which is nice because when you have a 6, 9, 12-month sales cycle, it becomes really difficult to measure what you're doing today. That's the obvious example there. Channel partner expansion is also the easy one because we say, okay, great, we want to expand this much revenue within these target channel partners. That's easy. Brand
contract expansion?
Yeah, exactly. Brand awareness is tougher. So brand awareness is one of those things that we've kind of gone back and forth on because it's like, all right, so do we want to measure that with soft numbers, or would we rather focus on something like NPS, which is kind of brand, but it also touches client success? So that's not really true east, that's southeast, you know, if you're looking at that cardinal direction again. Right now, NPS is sort of our source of truth for that today, instead of focusing on mass brand awareness. I could make an argument that that's because, well, that's what's going to drive results for the business. The truth is, I don't want us to be incentivizing our team to focus on just mass expansion of people knowing that Springbuk exists, because the amount of dollars that's going to bring in the next 18 months is pretty negligible. And then with product marketing, the outcome that we're going for right now is less quantifiable, which is why I'm excited about it, because the real outcome we're going for is clear communication and understanding of our product, both internally and externally. So historically, a new feature goes live, and the feature is live, and our salespeople find out when it's in demo, and they start clicking through it in a demo, which is not exactly what we want them to do. So right now, it's more of like a checkbox. It's more of like, all right, are we doing our job well or not? And the good news is we're doing our job amazingly right now because of my good friend Jonathan back there.
Thank you. John?
Wes asked my question.
Oh, there we go. Good job, Wes. Thank you. Anything else? All right. So, a couple of quick things. We've got something new today. All right. So, Jason's back there. We've got a few minutes, and you're willing to do it. If you have any questions about Agile, problems maybe that you're facing, we've had a lot of people request maybe doing an event format where we kind of do a round table. Someone brings a problem to the table, everyone works on that together and answers it. We're going to do that, but like on a bigger scale. So, Jason will take your questions, we'll record them, we'll do them out there where it's a little bit less noisy. Think like, you get it down to like 10 to 20 seconds or something, this is my problem. He's going to post that, we're going to share it out with the community as a whole, and then we'll get the answers back that way, and hopefully get your problem solved. All right, so we're going to try this one out. We were thinking about it yesterday. I think it'll be pretty cool. So if you got something you've been trying to solve and you need the community's help on it, chat with him. He'll coordinate all of that. All right. Next thing is the September event. So this one's a little bit different. This one's going to be really cool. All right, so we are actually partnering with Disrupt Indy. This is their second year doing a conference. It's a 3-day conference here in Indianapolis, and it's focused on driving diversity in the tech population inside of Indiana. All right. Awesome conference, awesome speakers, and the thing that we're most excited about is it focuses not only on the professional community that exists right now, but also on the professional community that will exist in a few years. So we're taking the Agile marketing group. We are going to be embedding that in the Saturday portion of it, which is their Student Tech Day, right? And basically what that's going to look like is up front, who all came to the Ray Gun workshop session in the room? Right, so we got a few hands in the room. Basically, we did an Agile marketing workshop for an hour where we broke into groups. Kat Doherty kind of led that and really taught us how to do Agile according to the appropriate principles, right? We built a product, which was little folded origami cats and dogs that time, right? But we worked through that over the course of that hour, and it was really amazing. She's going to be doing that same sort of thing, but this time we're going to be doing it with high schoolers, right? And doing it with early college students, talking to them about how to use Agile methodology to build a product. And then they're going to spend the rest of the day building their product, right? This is where all of you guys come in because we need hands. And as many of them as we can possibly get, because we will be having you guys embedded there, one per group of these teenagers and early college folks, helping them as advisors as they go through building their project over the course of the day. And then at the end, they're all going to come back and present it to a panel, which will, of course, have some Agile people on that as well. And we'll talk about not only their product and why it's so cool, but also how they used Agile to build that product. So this is going to be really, really, really amazing. We focused a lot on how do we build the existing community. This is us all taking some time to invest in what's coming next at what will be a really, really cool event. So if you're interested in potentially volunteering for that, it'll be on a Saturday. Come and chat with any of us. Eva, myself, Jason, Rachel, anyone else, Margarita, Marcia, anyone you've got here pretty much that has a Agile shirt except for her right there. Although I appreciate you wearing it because that was super cool of you. So if you're interested in volunteering to help out with that event, please come chat with us. We definitely need as many people as we possibly can. And if not, definitely sign up for the event itself as well as disruptindy.com. So that will be our September event. We will be focusing in on taking that time that we usually spend here, investing that in that next round of folks that are all going to come and take our jobs later, right? And I think that's pretty much about it. You got anything else to say?
Awesome. So I added this at the very last minute, but I guess it did not update on the slides. But we have a post-event survey that we would love everyone to take. If you just pull up your phones right now and go to agilemarketingindy.com, it's just a quick 7 or 8 question survey. We use these in our board meetings every month to get feedback on how we can improve the next one. So if you guys wouldn't mind doing that before you head out, we would really appreciate it. And can we give one more shout out to Tim in Springbuk? I don't know where he is.
Dropped the mic, just walked off.
Yeah.
He's gone.
You just left.
Well,
thank you, Tim.
yes. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good rest of your evening.